Alrighty. So for our next project, you guys can design anything you want, and don't forget, you have to have a plan for me first. So even though I'm showing you the next steps, if you're not done with your plan, once I'm done with the demonstration, you guys can switch gears and finish your plan first. But I wanted to show you how to create a pinch pot. And when you are ready and your plan's all set and you've shown it to me, you can grab some clay. I'll cut some brand new fresh clay for you guys. And what's the first thing you should do when you get brand new fresh clay? Yes?
Wedge it.
Wedge it. Thank you. So when you get your clay, you're going to wedge it and wedge it and wedge it and wedge it. And hopefully you still have your bag and your tray. You can reuse your same bag and tray. And we're going to make a pinch pot. And for this project, some of you are designing a project with one pinch pot that's really big and maybe it's flipped over open. Some of you are designing a project with two pinch pots that you're going to attach. So you guys have to be creative problem solvers. You might need a decent size pinch pot, but just one. You might need two small pinch pots. So before you grab your clay or before you start making a pinch pot, you have to kind of figure out as best you can how much clay you need. And if you're doing two pinch pots, you try to get your clay as even as you can. You want them about the same size to start. If you're doing one pinch pot, it doesn't really matter so much. So try to make them as even as you can and try to get about the same size clay when you do it. And this is one of those things that little kids do, and it seems pretty basic, but it's actually kind of challenging. So just take your time. Don't be afraid to be a creative problem solver and do the best you can. So when you have your sphere of clay, you very, very carefully roll it and you try to make it as round as you can. And then very, 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 very gently, because it's going to crack a lot, you stick your thumb into it about halfway. You don't want to go all the way through. And then very, very carefully, you're going to pinch from the inside and the outside. So I tell my little kids it's like an alligator. And slowly eating the clay. So you start like on the bottom and you pinch and turn and pinch and turn and pinch and turn and pinch and turn. And slowly this is going to open up. And you can use both your hands if you want. And you want to keep in mind as you're doing this, what kind of creation are you making? Is your pinch pot need to be really open wide? Are you going to flip it over? Is it a mouth? So depending on what you're making, you may or may not want to make this very wide. Most of you probably don't need it too wide, so just be really gentle as you're pinching. And you pinch and turn and pinch and turn and pinch and turn. And I know it doesn't look like much, so I'm trying to describe what I'm doing. And I'm also kind of feeling, like I could feel, I know you can't see, but I can feel right here that there's a thick spot. Oh, and right there, there's a thin spot, so I'm going to be really careful. And just like your coils, you want your pinch pot to be about the thickness of your finger. A lot of people tend to go up to the very top and they pinch it really thin, and then it becomes way too fragile. You want it to be very even. You don't want really thin spots, especially around the edge. You almost want this to be the thickest part of your pinch pot. And you're going to have some cracking, so if you want, you can use a little bit of your slip. The slip is getting nice and thick now. Sometimes I'll rub it a little bit and crack. I do have more slip in the back, so don't worry if we're running low. And if your pinch pot tends to get a little too thin on the edge here and you're afraid it's not going to work, you very gently flip it over and you can bang it against the edge of the table and it will make it a little thicker and stronger. Some of you will stop there and you'll start to flip it over. You'll start to sculpt with it. Maybe you have like your pinch pot on the side. So some of you will just have one big pinch pot. Some of you are attaching your pinch pots together. So if you're doing two, it's basically just the same thing. And if you have a big crack like this and it's not really sealing with the slip, you can also use the curved side of your wooden tool. You guys are problem solvers. You've been working with clay now for a while. So a lot of this you'll probably just fix automatically without even thinking about it. All right, cool. Flip that guy over. And you do the same thing with this one. So I'll try to go super duper fast. I wish I had like a fast forward. Pinch, turn, pinch, turn, pinch, turn. And I'm kind of feeling all the different spots as I go, which is hard to describe, but you guys will be fine when you do this. Just don't make it too thin. That's my only advice. And don't stress too much about the cracks. I kind of fix them as I go a little bit. And if you get a brand new fresh piece of clay, then it should be better. If you wedge today and you don't have time to start your pinch pot, wrap your clay in a wet paper towel. It'll be good to go for tomorrow. Pinch, turn, pinch, turn, pinch, turn, pinch, turn. And you basically make a second pinch pot. Now the key, if you are putting two pinch pots together, is to make sure the edge of each bowl is pretty thick. And even if they're not quite the same size, like this one's a little bit bigger, you want the openings to be the same. So right now this opening is a lot wider. So I'll make this one a little bit wider. And even though it's a smaller bowl, I want the openings to fit. And you just keep trying it until you get it right. Now when you put them together, I'll be honest with you, it's going to look like a hot mess. So what do I need to do if I'm attaching two pieces of clay together? Yeah, you got it. You got to score and slip. Just like you did with your coil bowls. Coil bowls are great practice because it gives you all the skills. And then you can make anything. Did you guys know that? You can make anything now. I was talking to somebody yesterday. They did clay in Studio Art. Then they went on to take Ceramics 1. And then they took Ceramics 2. And now this year, I think they are a junior or senior. They're taking pottery. So if you really like clay, pottery is using a spinny, 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 fast, fast wheel. And it's pretty awesome. So I scored, and I'm using a lot of slip. You guys know how to attach clay. But I do have to warn you that this process of attaching your two pinch pots will take like an extra day. And it's going to look horrible. But please don't stress out about it. All right, so here we go. Line it up as best you can. And really gently press. And believe it or not, we just trapped a ton of air in there like a balloon. And that actually will help out our situation. We will open it up and let the air escape at the end, but right now the air is kind of keeping it nice and solid. Now this looks like a mess. So I'm going to use the curved part. Can you see how my wooden tool is curved a little bit? I'm going to use the curved part like a speed skater. I went up to Lake Placid once and I got to see the Olympic speed skaters training. And they don't run on the ice and poke holes in it. They actually go from side to side. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that. It's pretty awesome. Try to do the same thing with your clay. I stitch it up. So wherever there's like a little extra clay, like a little mountain of clay, I push it across that slip river. Oh, God bless you. I got a little hole right there, kind of fill it in. Wherever I have more clay is where I'm pushing it. I'm also kind of squeezing it at the bottom, which sounds a little fresh. Sorry, clay. But I'm doing that so the air inside is pushing against my wooden tool. And if you have like a little divot right here, I'm not going to like really slam on it because I'm afraid I might poke a hole. So I'm going to take this extra clay from over here and fill it in. Or I can always score and slip like a little patch on there, extra clay. You can always do that. And you go across and across and across and across. And you keep doing that. And then you look at it and you're like, Mrs. Altieri, you just like ruined your clay. It looks terrible. But it's not. Now I'm going to use my thumb, and it's a hot mess. I'm going to smooth it out a little bit as best I can. And honestly, the first time I did this, this took me 45 minutes. I've just done a bunch of these since then because it's a really great way to build pretty large sculptures without having all the drying time. Because we can open this up later and it'll be hollow, so it'll dry much faster. If this was solid clay, it would have to take like 2 months to dry, and I'm not that patient. So now it kind of looks like a bumpy mess. But slowly you can roll it against your canvas. You can use your wooden tool to fill in spots. You can use your fingers to kind of press and fill in spots. And you roll and you press and you roll and you press and you roll and you press. And you have to be really patient. And eventually, after just kind of working on little individual spots and doing the best you can, after about a day or two of this, you'll get a nice sphere. And it'll trick people into thinking that you have one solid three-dimensional form. But you don't. It's hollow. And then you get more clay, wedge it, and you'll start to add on to your either one pinch pot or your two pinch pots together. And then from there, I'll talk to you guys maybe at the end of next week about what you can do once you start adding. So if this is a panda, I would add a head, and I would add ears, and I would add a body. And then I can open this up because it's hollow. Or if you're doing one pinch pot, you can hide things inside. So there's a lot we can do. You can make it into a bell. So there's a lot of options. But I just wanted to help you guys get started with that first step so you kind of know where you're going. Questions? All right. Good luck. Have fun. Go get set up.